Live.
All right, folks, welcome to this week's episode of The Left, the Right, and the Absurd. We are going to be doing a continuation of Mutualism tonight. And, drum roll, guys, we have our first special guest on tonight.
I don't have a drum on standby. Sorry.
God damn it. Now we have... Fuck it, we'll do it live.
I'll write it, we'll do it live. Fuck it.
All right. So yeah, we have a special guest tonight who's going to help us discuss mutualism a little bit more because, you know, if you're not a mutualist, you're living your life wrong. But yeah.
What's up? I'm Brian here.
If you're on iFunny, you probably know who he is.
If you're not, then you probably don't know who he is.
And you're just a complete fuck up if you're not on iFunny.
Yeah, I don't know how you found us if you're not there, but we are so proud to have you here, and we love you long time.
But either way, he's probably one of the most knowledgeable on the subject of mutualism, so we had to have him on, and it's good to have him here.
Thanks.
By any chance, did you catch any of last week's episode?
Yeah, I watched it.
Okay. So
Anything you wanted to comment on?
Yes.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
That makes me so proud. I feel like we did a good job.
Well, Cole, where did we leave off last week?
Last week we had finished...
We covered the two monopolies, and we were going to hit the other two.
Yeah, we covered 2 of the 4. We still have tariffs and...
Patents.
Yeah, patents. I'm sorry, my brain's not working today, guys.
I mean, last week I know you made some comments about the state, more from like an anarchist. You didn't mention much of mutualism, I don't believe, and I kind of wanted to comment on, you know, that perspective of the state.
I feel like you have a question. Do you have a question?
I don't necessarily have a question, but last week we ended on a quote where you basically...
Called Marx a faggot?
Yeah. Okay, sure. Wasn't going to go there, but all right. They mentioned the state of being a bunch of different things, but...
Are you talking about Adam's quote or the long-ass quote I had?
Your quote. And it's
So
basically
the state socialism one.
Yeah. But I say that Marxists don't see the state as any of those things, but simply an instrument of class rule. I think I mentioned that last week, but I didn't get too much into it.
Was there more you wanted to talk about it?
I mean, do a brief summary of what the quote was, if you could, if it's possible. And if not, then we'll just move on.
I mean, pretty much what I said. Marx was a faggot.
All right.
Basically, the long quote he was saying was like the state was the total and dominant forces of the society, and everybody was in its service. Basically,
yeah. I'm just trying to pull it up really quick because the last line really sums it up perfectly. As he said it, the remedy for monopolies is monopoly. That's his take on state socialism.
Okay.
So everything goes to the worker, everything goes to the state. The worker may own his clothes, but not the tools with which he makes them, is basically what he was saying.
Okay.
Which, like we said last week, we don't agree completely with everything Tucker says, and while I don't support state socialism, I don't think Tucker's take on it was very... I think it was oversimplifying things.
Okay, yeah, all I would really have to say is that, which I can't necessarily blame him too much for, when did Tucker die?
Jesus Christ, why you gotta...
1939. I don't know why I know that.
Okay.
So glad we have you on this week, like, just for all the random shit that we don't know.
Okay,
he
then I
died in Monaco, by the way.
All right.
Random facts.
And I guess, he has the right to say some things about, Soviet Union and all that, but, whatever. We'll continue on, I guess.
I mean, was there something you wanted to say? It's okay.
I mean,
We have time.
when we, the reasons for the reasons for the really authoritarian and autocratic ways of the Soviet Union, like, weren't necessarily because of the idea of state socialism. They were like, I look at them as I shouldn't say necessary, but, or I shouldn't say inevitable either.
Is this similar to, essentially what you're trying to say is similar to what you had typed out in that essay of the,
About authoritarianism.
need for it, essentially.
It was needed. They weren't authoritarian out of principle, they were authoritarian out of necessity because of the fact of their conditions.
Yes. Which I can definitely understand. The main question I have with that, though, is when does the line get drawn and where does it stop?
All right, that is a fair question. So, no matter what the conditions are, what point do we say, all right, these conditions are awful, but the reaction to these conditions are even worse, is what I assume you're saying.
Along those lines, but also, what if the conditions don't improve?
Okay.
That's what I was going to say. Is like what conditions necessitate that behavior, and like what could be done to prevent that from becoming the circumstances in the future, instead of transitioning towards a more libertarian or anarchist form of socialism, instead of having needing to have like authoritarian state socialism.
Still better than ANCAP.
True. True, fan.
I just had to do that for...
Anything you want to say, Umbreon?
No, I'm good.
All right. All right, we can probably start on mutualism now. That's really
Special Guest of the Year award goes to you, dude.
I'm flattered.
I guess we should move on to... Should we do tariffs next or patents?
I think patents.
I'm cool with that. This is one of the ones I don't know a whole lot on, so if you want to do most of the talking here, that is A-okay.
Alright. I don't know where to start.
Well, I think we should start with like a basic definition of what patents are. So patents are the legal right granted to somebody by the state to have sole proprietorship over an idea or a means of production, like producing something. So
yeah, intellectual property.
Basically, an intellectual property doesn't exist, but we can get into that later.
My IP.
My IP. But yeah, if you want to take it from there, that's cool. And if not, we can just dive into more like how intellectual property is bullshit and doesn't really matter.
All right.
You really want to talk about intellectual property?
I mean, it's whatever you guys want to do. I don't care. I'm not an expert on mutualism. I just like have opinions about IP. So.
All right. Well, Tucker, he basically said that property, it's limited due to scarcity. Someone in California and someone in New York cannot use the same piece of property at the same time. With intellectual property, you can, except it's blocked by the state. Anything you want to add to that?
I mean, the concept's pretty straightforward. The idea of patents is the utilization of the state over intellectual property through patenting eliminates the possibility of competition, which is what drives the price up.
Yes.
So,
well, not only that, it's like whenever they limit the whenever you have intellectual property and patents, it gives someone like the sole right to produce or manufacture a certain item or whatever for a certain amount of time, and that stifles people improving on that process or item thus allowing a inferior product to stay on the market much longer than it should had those intellectual property laws
Yeah,
not been
it hinders
enforced.
innovation.
Do you think
Exactly.
it can be likened to like open source software?
I think
You know,
so.
all right. That's what I'm thinking of whenever I'm hearing all this. Like if it's open more, I guess I shouldn't use the term public, but you know what I mean. If it's open to people, that leads them to improve the product. And if it's
Yeah.
closed off, then
Yes.
obviously the opposite happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think there's a clear incentive, like just right there, because like nobody wants an inferior product whenever they could have a better product. Like nobody's just gonna be like, oh yeah, I'll take this shitty piece of like whatever over like a better product. So I think that's an incentive right there to get rid of IP and patents, like in and of itself, but also like opposing patents because they're like a threat of force or a threat of violence against other people for improving upon a like non-physical thing like an idea or whatever is just stupid to me because that I don't know, I don't think that makes sense. But anybody want to add on to that?
Yeah, we've seen things like this with the what was it, Shrekly or whatever, Shekel.
Yeah, he threw the price of an AIDS drug up.
It's always
an
those
AIDS
fucking
drug
Jews.
up like 5,000%. So
Yeah, and then we saw someone else come onto the market with something different and charge a fucking dollar for it. And that's the one thing. You can still allow other people to utilize the patent while you have it. The
yeah, it's
issue
not stealing.
is if you allow them to, you make money off of it for doing nothing, which is also a violation of mutualism, making money off something you didn't do. If, like, say you have the patent and you're making money off someone else producing the product that you have patented. It'd be like patenting fucking potatoes and saying, here, I have these seeds. You may grow them, but I earn 50% of whatever you sell.
Like all I really was gonna say is that it's kind of nice that he didn't just take an anarchist view, like an anti-government view. It's that patents are bad because of government and threat of force. He also made an argument uh, in economics as to why patents stifle innovation. So I thought that was at least somewhat nice.
That's part of the reason why I like Tucker. He's extremely easy to understand. He's extremely intelligent. And he's not solely focused on one aspect of it, not merely the social aspect, but also the economic aspect, as opposed to many people, like many capitalist economists, are more focused on the actual economics of it. Or in some leftist thought, some other forms of leftist thought, it's much more focused on the social aspect with little attention to the economic aspect. It's part of why I like the mutualist thinkers, because most of them have, due to the necessity of the market in the system, they balance out the social and the economic aspects of everything.
And by the way, speaking of socialist or mutualist thinkers, you should do a quick talk as to why Lysander Spooner was not a capitalist later on in the episode at the end, if you want.
Hell fucking yeah.
Okay.
I had a bunch of douchebags on Facebook try to start some shit with me. I gotta put that out there. God, thank you for that.
You can do it now or you can do it later. It's up to me.
No, I'll do it at the end of the episode. It's alright.
Okay.
Is there anything but douchebags on Facebook?
I'm on there, so I don't think so.
Ooh, sorry.
So we're gonna move on from patents?
Yeah, I think we can move into the next one.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else needed to say there, or are we good?
No, we're good.
Okay.
Tariffs. Tariffs. Tariffs, tariffs, tariffs.
I think tariffs are pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, at least if I understand, I'm almost certain that tariffs are just a form of taxes.
Yeah.
It's just a tax for selling your product in another country, basically.
Yeah.
So, like, an example I'm going to pull from Henry Hazlitt's book, Economics in One Lesson. Like, it's not that I particularly think he's better than anybody else. It's just I like the example. So, a British company is making, like, sweaters or whatever, and an American company is also making sweaters. But the American company charges, like, $15 a sweater, but the British can sell theirs because they have a lower production cost. They can sell theirs here for $10, and so they can produce sweaters for less than the American company can. So they have room to lower their price, but they're still profitable. So the government will impose like a $5 tax on them, saying if they're selling it for like $10 and the American company's selling it for 15, they'll impose a 5% tariff on them so that it's the same price, or they'll impose a $6 tariff on them. So it's more than the American sweaters. So it's more a form of like economic protectionism than anything
That's what I
else.
was just gonna say. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just to ensure that the company that is operating within your country is like has an economic advantage that wouldn't exist if the state didn't exist. Is basically all it is.
That sounds grosser than Donald Trump's asshole.
That's fucking disgusting. Let me tell you.
I mean, I hate having to look at it on camera all the time. It's a joke because his face is an asshole.
Nice.
Yeah. I know, I tell terrible jokes.
So, like, tariffs, is that really all we need to say? You said it was self-explanatory, so.
Yeah, they're bad.
Yeah, it's just state-imposed taxes that inherently raise the price of goods, and it's just not a free market. That's all there is to be said.
As we discussed last week, anything that raises prices is completely counterproductive to what the goal of mutualism is. So, for those that don't remember, the end goal is to drop the prices of everything down to merely the price of labor. We used last week through I think it was the money monopoly. We talked about banking and dropping loans. Tucker said it as dropping loans down to 0.75%, and that would be the equivalent of the labor for the bank.
I think he calls it the natural wage.
Yeah, why don't you discuss that? That sounds interesting if you can.
That's basically what he just explained.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's the wonderful part. Kind of disappointed that Adam's not here because he had a decent amount of books and people to list off.
Speaking of which, did we ever link any of that shit in last week's episode?
I don't think we did.
I linked one of them.
Which one did you link?
I linked mutualism.org.
Okay, so Kevin Carson's website.
Or mutualist.org, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
for those that are looking to get into mutualism after listening to this and want to learn more than just our basic, as I'd say, it is an intro to mutualism, Benjamin Tucker is a great one. He is one of my favorite. Simple to understand, very straightforward, and a great writer. Though somewhat, as the book we discussed last week, instead of a book by a man too busy to write one, it's, as the title says, it's extremely fragmented. It can be confusing at times if you're not paying attention, due to the fact that most of it's out of the magazine Liberty, but it's a really great book to learn a lot of different aspects of it, and not just from Tucker's viewpoint, but to get a little bit of Josiah Warren's view and Proudhon's view. Proudhon is also another great one to read. Kevin Carson's stuff, especially on Mutualist or Mutualism.org. We'll make sure to link the proper link for you guys.
Now I got a question sort of for Umbergon. I want to know his opinions on Tito's Yugoslavia, because I know you were interested in that for a while.
Yeah, Yugoslavia, it's very interesting and complicated. It was sort of like state ownership, but the state would lease property out to cooperatives, and it was pretty much the only real example of market socialism that's ever existed. The one thing that I don't like about it is it was state ownership, so the state could regulate who has property and who doesn't.
And I believe you once made a post as to why it failed there, and you sort of defended the view that it was not because of mutualism that Tito's Yugoslavia is no longer the same as how it used to be.
Yeah, there was a lot of outside forces. One thing I would mention is the global economy was very terrible in the 1970s. One thing that really hurt Yugoslavia was the 1973 oil crisis. And let's see what else. Just in general, there was a lot of problems. Like the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, they were screwing with the Yugoslavia currency. So there was all kinds of issues, things that they couldn't really do anything about. And the
Yeah.
last major thing that I would mention is Yugoslavia didn't really have anyone to trade with. The West wouldn't trade with them because they weren't capitalist, and the Soviets, all of their satellite states, they wouldn't trade with Yugoslavia because they were calling them capitalists. So really they had no international support. They were
Wow.
all by themselves. And that's terrible for an economy.
Yeah.
Look at North Korea.
If you do want to look at North Korea, there are wonderful Vice videos about that, actually. You guys ever watched that?
Yeah, the inside North Koreas.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I usually just watch Vice videos about how they sell drugs.
Was that back when you were asking me how to grow mushrooms?
That actually was. So
Jesus
But-
Christ, you were getting all that preparation in.
I know, and then I did absolutely nothing with it because I'm a lazy piece of shit. But anyway,
FBI must have been watching you and then realized you were a lazy piece of shit.
they were like, "Yeah, this kid's not gonna fucking do anything." But back to the topic at hand.
Was there anything else we wanted to discuss tonight? There's not a whole lot. Or were there any questions you guys had?
I pretty much addressed my questions in the last episode.
Okay.
Eric, anything from you?
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, I mean, you can mention the whole Lysander Spooner thing because you seem pretty passionate about that.
Yeah, I was just to see if there was anything else that we wanted
Because
to talk
I mean,
about.
I noticed you sent in one of the chats was I believe it was a scarf of Lysander Spooner on an ANCAP flag, and that just really got to you.
So just a quick little tip for just everyone out there that's actually interested in politics and knows who Lysander Spooner was. A lot of you, especially the libertarians out there, they are some of the biggest fucking issues. People like Adam Kokesh. Don't get me wrong, Adam Kokesh is an interesting person. I like watching his videos. I don't agree with him. But he's one of the types that doesn't understand socialism and doesn't understand that Lysander Spooner was a socialist.
That's literally like 95% of the libertarian right. They have no fucking clue what they're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, being perfectly honest, most libertarians are talking out of their ass and are just Republicans that are a little more like, hey guys, I want this less state, but it's definitely not going to get like bigger or anything. That's so not going to happen.
Like
I wouldn't say they're like Republicans, but we don't need to debate that. But like basically what we were getting at is they don't fucking read anything other than like one book and maybe it's like On Liberty by like John Stuart Mill, or it's like For a New Liberty by Murray Rothbard, and that's like the only fucking books they read. And then they take Murray Rothbard's definition of socialism, which is completely fucking wrong, and then they just like universalize it, and it's just fucking cancer because they have no idea what they're talking about.
If they read John Stuart Mill, they should actually understand something about socialism.
Maybe I just brought that up because I have to read it for this fucking class, and I just like John Stuart Mill, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Like it's probably like not something they read.
Yeah, Mill's probably one of the last things they would ever fucking read. It's actually that's the issue with people like Rothbard and fucking Friedman, man.
Dude, I take issue with a lot of right libertarians because they just like they have this fucking complex and they think that they've read like 2 books that they fucking know everything there is to know about everything, and it's really annoying. It's like, no, like you can't even give me a proper definition of socialism. Like you can barely give me a fucking proper definition of capitalism, and you think you know economics. Just like stop, drink all the bleach.
My biggest issues are these. Every 15-year-old, here's looking at you, Prey, that reads...
oh shit, we're throwing shade like a motherfucker.
Thinks that they are the next fucking Rothbard or the next... Now, he doesn't do this. I just had to do that. But people like that sit there and think, well, I'm going to be a fucking econ major. And it's like, so you're going to balance some rich dude's checkbook. I'm so fucking proud of you. You're not going to sit here and write a fucking book on goddamn economic theory like Murray Rothbard or Milton Friedman. You're not going to be that fucking guy. Your economics degree isn't...
You're going to be the guy who puts a picture of Lysander Spooner on a scarf with an handicap flag.
Yeah. So,
you're going to be that guy that got an economics degree but doesn't really understand economics. You're going to be that fucking asshole.
So, to go back to that whole thing, so I was surfing through Etsy because I like to do that sometimes because people make some cool shit. And I saw this, and I just immediately just fucking went blank because I'm just like, Jesus fucking Christ. I just recently been telling a bunch of people about how Lysander Spooner is not a fucking capitalist, and then I see this shit, and I'm just like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? But yeah, as most people don't know, Lysander Spooner was actually a left-wing market anarchist. He wasn't... It's difficult to say he was a mutualist, and were he to be one, he would definitely be his own version of it. But as we all know, there's multiple different versions. But this right here is an excerpt from Letters to Cleveland. And it says, all the great establishments of every kind, now in the hands of a few proprietors, but employing a great number of wage laborers, would be broken up, for few or no persons who could hire capital and do business for themselves would consent to labor for wages for another. Essentially, for those that don't understand that, because, I mean, when you read books from Lysander Spooner's period, the language is a little bit different. Essentially what he was saying is, were the workers to stop, were we to break these companies up and put them in the hands of the workers, they would never work for someone else again. Because they never want to be subjected to being someone's bitch.
What I was going to say is that I was going to ask you if you'd first give some examples of the claims that these right-wingers usually make about Lysander Spooner being a socialist, but I soon realized that they don't actually make any claims about it. I'll usually just see a picture of him with some ANCAP logos or flags.
Well, the problem is like they take
quote.
They usually like the most popular quote that they cherry pick from him is like, or usually quotes about like taxation or whatever, because that's like a huge focal point in ANCAP, and like nobody bothers to fucking take the time to like do any research or like read anything about the dude, and like Hey, to be fair here, I was one of those idiots before. Like, I posted a couple Lysander Spooner memes that were like fucking ANCAP in my day, but like, I finally figured it out. I was like, this dude's not an ANCAP. But like, I mean, that's kind of the problem. People just don't do their fucking research, and they just assume, and it's not true.
Eric,
Yes.
it's amazing that you say that because this is the argument I got into on Facebook. There's a group. For those that feel like looking it up, it's hilarious. This dude's name, the group's name is V is for voluntary.
Those people are so fucking stupid.
I think they have a YouTube page.
Literally, the best part about this is their profile picture and their profile banner is fucking Lysander Spooner. It says property rights, praxeology, free markets, anti-state, and what's the last one? Voluntary exchange.
Anybody that says fucking praxeology and like actually means it should just kill themselves because it's just like the stupidest fucking thing.
You know what I'm gonna try to do? I'm gonna try to find a picture of like a really obscure left-wing figure, like even more obscure than like Antonio Gramsci. I'm gonna like overlay an ANCAP flag next to it. I'm gonna take some like out of context quote, and I'm just gonna see how many of them will like agree with it.
Dude, no, we need to make this a thing. We need to like troll the fucking libertarians and the ANCAPs on iFunny and just like do that with like a bunch of people
well, Eric,
that like
you'll
nobody
have
knows
to
about.
do it because they'll
Yeah,
suspect it.
fucking like if you find something, like make it and send it to me, and I'll post it. It'll be like this dude's a fucking hero or whatever.
Okay.
And also
Like-
mutualists from Ken Carson's website, Center for Stateless Society.
Okay,
People
yeah.
that I've never heard of before I went to that
Yes.
website. I can definitely make up some
Start
quotes.
doing that, please.
Fuck
Because
yes.
you're good at editing, Umbreon.
Thanks.
Umbreon is the king of memes.
True.
You nearly
but
got
to go
half
along,
funny to believe that Remy Lacroix or whatever was
okay, but
go on.
to go along with what Eric said, there was two quotes from one guy. He said, "Here's to you, Ben." Yeah, his views don't mesh with this group at all. The only security men can have for their political liberty consists in keeping their money in their own pockets. Nothing about fucking capitalism in there, though.
No.
And
No,
then-
it's like nobody mentioned anything about like private ownership of the means of production. Like nobody said anything about that, and they just like fucking assume that that's what he's talking about.
Wait, the second one's the best part because it goes along with what Eric said so hardcore. If taxation without consent is not robbery,
I fucking love that quote.
then any band of robbers have only to declare themselves the government, and all their robberies are legalized.
Swear to Christ, I posted that before as like an ANCAP thing, and like people just ran with it. Like that was after I knew that it wasn't legit, but it was still funny to watch just people be like, "Yeah, man, Lysander Spooner's an ANCAP. He was like first ANCAP from like way back when." It's like, no, he wasn't. Just stop.
And then to respond to him, I sent that first quote that I read to you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Then I sent, "The Rothschilds and that class of moneylenders, of whom they are representatives and agents, men who never think of lending a shilling to their next-door neighbors for purposes of honest industry unless upon the most ample security and at the highest rate of interest, stand ready at all times to lend money in unlimited amounts to those robbers and murderers who call themselves government. The question of making these loans is with these lenders a mere question of pecuniary profit. They lend money to be expended in robbing, enslaving, and murdering their fellow men solely because, on the whole, such loans pay better than any others." Then proceeded with this one. "Almost all fortunes are made out of the capital and labor of other men than those who realize them. Indeed, large fortunes could rarely be made at all by one individual except by his sponging capital and labor from others." Jesus fucking Christ, if that ain't fucking socialist, I don't know what it is.
Well, I mean, just you could forget all that, but wasn't he part of one of the first or one of the internationals? Or am I thinking of someone else?
was actually talking about that. I think he was actually said to be part of the first international.
Okay.
Then Then next one went with all the great establishments of every kind, now in the hands of a few proprietors, but employing a great number of wage laborers. Oh wait, no, that's the one I read already.
Yeah.
Then the first one I did not read. No. Any number of scoundrels having money enough to start with establish themselves as a government. Because with money they can hire soldiers, and with soldiers extort more money, and also compel general obedience to their will. Jesus fucking Christ, guys.
That's definitely private
And then-
property and capitalism right there.
Then
No
here-
doubt.
Here's the greatest part, guys. V is for voluntary finally responds after this and says, "Cool, bro."
10 out of 10
there.
would debate again. Like,
Sat there, educated these motherfuckers, and I get a cool, bro. Definitely
Right.
the guy I want to take my fucking economics lessons from.
I don't know why it's such a big deal for people to be like, oh, I was wrong. Like, why is it so fucking hard?
Because his whole profile's based around Alexander Spooner.
You look like a huge moron.
That would be the greatest thing ever. Can we just all collectively get together and just fucking ruin his life?
Yes, please.
Like,
Like-
I really want... It's like that scene in Clerks 2. Where he-
Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, you're cool, fuck you, I'm out.
Not exactly. More along the lines of
I just
Portsmouth
like that one.
life. He's going to bring that back. Yeah, we're going to bring Lysander Spooner back to the socialist side.
Dope.
Because it's kind of important. I really want people to be less retarded.
And that's what this
why we do
podcast is for.
Guys, that's why we do this.
So that you will not be so fucking retarded. Thank you for watching. We really
So
appreciate your
that you
viewership.
So that you won't vote for Trump.
I mean, do we have anything else to say? Or you think we're...
I honestly think we're good for tonight. I think we're going to have a short episode because everything kind of fucked up. We're
Honestly,
sorry about that, guys. Our
and I'm
invite-
falling apart over here because I'm fucking wasted. So
We've
if
made
we
it
could
40
wrap
minutes.
this shit up.
And we've had 4 viewers pretty consistently. So we thank you, Umbreon, because we believe that's because of you.
Sweet.
Awesome.
All right,
Thank
and
you.
we're going to end it there. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Bye.
Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, jack off to us while you're watching. We really don't
Yes,
care.
please.
But please do that like, comment, and subscribe and share shit because that really helps us. It helps us get our viewership out there.
And it helps us
we
reach more
can
people,
change
so
even
less of you can be
retards.
retarded. Because that's why we do this.
Yeah, we can change more retards views to awesome ones, and we'd be so fucking proud of ourselves if we got like 20 people to like actually convert. It'd be really cool.
Because we're on a fucking mission, you know.
We'll bring some fucking Kool-Aid, guys.
And if you can't take